Hello, and today we are going to be learning how to work with layers within Photoshop. First, if you could open both of the files, the one is PS31, the other is PS32. I actually put them within my H drive inside of a Photoshop folder, and I made a subfolder called Balloon. Let's open both of those, and let's start with the PS31 file. Hit Control 0 so you can absolutely expand your screen. Make sure you are viewing your rulers. So you would say View, Rulers. Now notice I can turn mine off, or I can turn them on, or I can just hit Control R. Now that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 balloons plus 2 pieces of text in view, let's go over to our Layers palette and let's see what we have at the bottom. Well, we have this background layer that's not doing much of anything. Well, what happens if we click on it and it's locked? Will it delete with it being locked? Let's find out. Grab it, drag it, try to drop it into your waste paper basket here. Nope, it did not delete. So what if we unlocked it, click the lock button. Now let's drag it and drop it into the delete bin. And dun da da, there you go. It is now deleted. Let's go ahead and save this file. So let's say File, Save As, and let's give it a different name. Let's say it is going to be called Up in the Air. There are hot air balloons. We're going to save it as a PSD file, which is the default, and click Save. Always want to do that. Anything with layers, you always save a PSD first. Going back to our Layers palette, click on the Lighthouse Balloon layer. We want to add another layer here right above it. So if you focus over, first we have our lovely Delete button. Well, we already used that. Let's go to the next one. Oh, good. Create a new layer. So let's go ahead and click that. It creates another layer for us that we'll be able to now use. With that new layer added, let's go ahead and just hit Control S to save. Now it's time to use our secondary file, our PS32. So let's do File, Save As first. And we're going to save this as Yellow Balloon. And it's going to be put into the same folder with all the other ones. And it is indeed a PSD file. So we'll hit Save. Now notice this PSD file only has one layer to it. And what we're going to do is go to the title bar where it says Yellow Balloon, hold down your mouse and drag and drop. Good. So now this particular file window is open on top of our Up in the Air. What our goal is, we want to isolate this yellow hot air balloon, and we want to drag it then into our other picture. So let's do that. The best tool that I would say and the easiest to use is the fourth one down. If you press and hold, you see there's Quick Selection and there's Magic Wand tool. Let's choose the Magic Wand tool. It selects by color. Now let's go into the blue selection area and click once. Notice the marching ants around the edges and around the balloon, but not actually the balloon itself. So we need to do an inverse so it selects the balloon, not the outside. So you say Select, Inverse, and now only the hot air balloon is chosen. In order to move this, let's go to our Move tool, click it, grab your yellow balloon, holding down your left mouse, and just drag it into the other window and drop it. And voila, there is your yellow balloon. Now you can close the window and close the file with the yellow balloon. Wonderful job. Now we don't like to leave any layers unnamed, so we're going to go over to where we just dropped this yellow balloon, and it's called Layer 1. Yep, the one you made. So double click that and call this Yellow Balloon. And there we go. Now for this yellow balloon, we need to do something to get rid of all the pixelation around the edges. Like if you hit Control++ and you really zoomed over, you would see that it's kind of fuzzy around this, as it is this Darth Vader. So first, let's focus on the yellow balloon. Let's defringe it. Let's get rid of some of the, those little pixels around that little fringe that's around the yellow balloon. Hit Layer, Matting, Defringe. Now you can choose your width of diffringing. Let's just put it as a 2 pixels. Say OK. OK. And it's a little less fuzzy and it blends in more. Darth Vader's turn. Click on the Darth Vader layer. He seems a little pixelated around some of these areas. So let's do, again, layer, matting, defringe. Oh, I don't know. Maybe we could try a 2 for him as well. Just see if that helps him any, and click. Okay, so you can see that it kind of brought out some of the other areas around Darth Vader. All right, we're done with defringing now. Okay, next, we want to take and start to build some folders within our layers palette over here. So for example, we're going to click on the last folder underneath the 2 text items, on the first folder rather. So let's go down, and we had our delete. We had our create a new layer. The next one is create a group, layer group. Click it. And it basically makes a folder. All this is a folder that you can put other items into, collapse, and it doesn't take up as much room on your layers palette. So call group 1, double click it, all text. All text. Okay, hit enter. Now what we want to do is grab each of these text items above it. There's nothing like it. Grab it and drag it and drop it into it. And do the same with going up and drag it and drop it. So now both of the text items are underneath all text. Now let's just highlight this a little bit, because click on your all text folder, right click it, and say let's just make that color green, just so we can really, when we have our text open, we'll say, hey, that's text, let's not mess with it. So let's go ahead at this time and minimize it. Now I want you to go back to your window and hit Control-0 again, and you can see it really didn't do anything with it. But if you were to move the text, it'd move it as a group now, which is kind of nice. Now, there's always ways that we can change the opacity. For example, click on the yellow balloon. Up here in your layers palette is an opacity button. Just select the 100%, type 85 and hit enter, and you can see it's somewhat transparent. Now, drag the yellow balloon layer underneath the lighthouse layer, so you can see you have lighthouse and then yellow balloon. Okay, that way it's just slightly opaque in the background. Now, let's suppose that you were working with a client and you wanted to show different renderings of your artwork, with some things showing, some things not showing. There's something called comp layers. So let's go to the window menu. Let's choose comp layers. Layer comps rather. Okay. So we got our layer comps out, and notice you can close it and open it from the sidebar now that you have chosen it from the window menu. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we need to go to this little button to add a new layer comp. All right, so we're going to say that we are going to turn the green off and the yellow off. So say green off, yellow off. Make sure the visibility is checked. Say OK. Now you go over to the green, and there's a show hide indication of visibility. I call it punch in the eye out. click that eye out of the green and click the eye out of the yellow, so 2 of the hot air balloons disappear. Now go back up to your layers comp window and go 1 to the left, and there's a little update layer comp button. Click it. It will update your layer comp, and just watch. You can close it and it appears like it's not there. Now you can always still bring these back by just clicking the visibility button to the left of each of the image windows. However, if I go to layer comps and I want to show the client, well, yeah, but I don't know if I want those 2 hot air balloons. You may want to go with this one. You can just click on it and it will show you your other rendering. Okay, finally, let's go ahead and just hit Control S to save the file. Now go ahead and close your layer comps. There you go. Let's save a copy of this file. Do File, Save As, and there's one that says as a copy. Okay, now the word copy should have come in right here. If it did not, it's imperative that you type it in. And it is a PSD, and we're going to say save and say OK. All right. Now you can see that our up in the air PSD is not the one we want to use. We want to file open, and we want to use the copy this time. So open the copy. Why I didn't want to use the original is because I'm going to show you how to flatten an image. Normally, you don't flatten images, since the second you do it, you can't get to all these lovely, beautiful layers that you spent so much time doing, reorganizing, making them gorgeous, and you can do things with them, but the minute you flatten and compress an image, boom, you're done unless you have the PSD. It's really hard to go back and fix anything. So with this copy open, we are going to say layer, and go all the way down and say flatten. Now it asks us, do we discard these 2 layers that are not selected? Well, since this is the layer we want to flatten, we can say OK. Now look at, you're back to 1 background layer, 1 image, as opposed to if you click on the other button, all these beautiful, lovely layers in the PSD. There will be times when you want to flatten though, because let's take a really big look at how many, way over here, it shows you that this is only 753 kilobytes versus if you click on the other file, if you look down, oh my gosh, look at that. I'm going to use my magnifying glass, 6.99 megs, huge. So if you don't have room, you need to flatten an image, you can, or you could always just save it as a different image type. I'm going to go ahead and close that magnifying glass, and I want to thank you for learning a little bit about layers.